Welcome to Bemidji Area Chamber of Commerce Meet the Candidate series, which consists of videos interviewing mayoral candidates running for the candidacy of mayor in the upcoming local primary election. My name is Tracy Pogue. I'm a volunteer board member of the Bemidji Area Chamber of Commerce and your host for this interview. I'm here representing the Bemidji Area Chamber of Commerce as a volunteer member of the board of directors, not to be affiliated or endorse any person, entity, or organization other than the Bemidji Area Chamber of Commerce. Today's interview will cover topics that affect Bemidji business community and economic growth. The goal of the interview is to help our members make an informed choice among mayoral candidates in the August 11th local primary election. The candidate in today's interview will be provided with a 2-minute maximum intro and then have 3 minutes to answer the specific questions that have been chosen by the Bemidji Area Chamber Board of Directors. So now I'd like to introduce to you John Henningsgaard and provide him the opportunity to introduce himself to the chamber members. John?
Good morning, Tracy. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm a retired teacher and a 22-year resident of Bemidji. I have been long interested in public service, and I credit that to having been raised in a family that was interested and had a strong sense of civic duty, civic participation. My mother was involved in Girl Scouts and PTA and various volunteer activities at the church. My father did a lot of work with Sons of Norway, and in the late 60s, my father gave up several years of fishing to get involved in cleaning up the Mississippi River, where he loved to fish. And what he was seeing was the river was becoming increasingly polluted. So he and his fishing partner, instead of taking out their fishing lines, they took out cameras and they went up and down the river taking photos of the pipes, the sewage pipes that were running from factories or institutions right into the river. And suddenly our family movie night switched to slideshows of effluent pipes running into the river. And so it became a family joke, but it wasn't really a joke. And it became a lesson for me, a learning opportunity. I remember helping my dad sort colored glass out at one of the first recycling facilities at the mall there in St. Cloud at Crossroads Mall. So I was introduced to, the idea that a person can make our community better, that we can play a role in improving our lives, and that government plays such a role. So I've long been interested in public service, having recently retired from teaching, from 28 years of teaching, the last 18 years in LaPorte. I have some opportunity, and I thought this was a good chance to jump in and see what I could do to give back to my community.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, and welcome again, John. And we have some interview questions here in this question period, and we remind our candidate that you will have 3 minutes to respond with a 2-minute warning, which I will give you. My timer will start at the end of each question. Question number 1 is, what do you consider the single most critical issue the city is facing, and how do you propose to resolve it?
I feel when time comes to be mayor, as in next January, that the single most critical issue is very likely to be the COVID virus, the pandemic in our community. I don't see it going away anytime soon, and I am prepared to lead in that pandemic. I will do so largely by staying informed and by believing the science and by sharing the protocol and encouraging others to share the protocol, which right now currently is to mask up and to social distance while we sanitize. And by doing that, we have the best, that provides us the best opportunity for a healthy economy, because that's the way to keep our businesses open, is if we can follow that simple protocol. I will work in tandem with our public health nurse and the experts out at Sanford Health to share that the standards that are in place at the time. Also, of course, there is much to do in the way of advocating for small businesses and for individuals that will need help, for renters and that sort of thing, to facilitate the whatever programs, whatever steps need to be taken for those small businesses and for those individuals so that they can receive the help that they need to get. We will be partnering likely again with Greater Bemidji. They've been a great help in the PPP, the Payroll Protection Plan, and getting those out to local businesses. The city partnered with Greater Bemidji in that effort. And as we go forward, we'll possibly need to shuffle around some responsibility in City Hall so that there's some people. These government programs are complicated, and I've gone into City Hall and several times met with various people there, and one day I'll be hearing this, and then the next time I'll go in, I'll hear something. Oh yeah, we think we can do this with the CARES money. We've got this opportunity. So it's going to be a complicated situation moving forward, and I think it's going to take some adjustment of resources, maybe a little manpower to stay abreast of that, stay on top of that. But that's a really important thing to be doing in the future.
Question number 2, John, is what do you feel the city's role is in attracting more industry and businesses?
Well, I think the city's role is down to this. I think it comes down to attracting the people who will run those businesses and who will work in our existing businesses or in future businesses. So the role, as I see it, is to, first of all, the responsibility, the work to be done, as I see it, is first of all have a well-run city. So we need the basics. We need the strong infrastructure. We need quality schools. We need trained workers. But more than that, we need a vibrant and a progressive city, the kind of city that people want to move to, that want to live in, that want to start their businesses and want to expand their businesses in. A destination place that people want to talk about. So, and we've got a lot of these things going for us, and it's just a matter of keeping them going and doing it right. So, parks and trails, sports and recreation, cultural opportunities, a healthy environment. These are all really important things towards attracting those people, towards growing those businesses. I've heard it said that, we don't have that one big industry, that one big factory. Well, that isn't always the ticket. It might be nice, but it isn't always the ticket. So, oftentimes, and I heard this when I met with some business leaders last week. I met with Dave Hengel, I met with Mitch Rautio, and they both said, it might just be that next entrepreneur that's coming through the launch pad down there at Greater Bemidji, or those are the people that are going to be building the businesses of the future. Those are the people that are attracted here by our quality of life, by having that vibrant, progressive community. So that's kind of where I would put my emphasis. And I think that partnership with Greater Bemidji is really important because that Dave Hengel, as far as I can tell, and according to Mitch Rautio, he is beating the drumbeat for Bemidji and developing Bemidji and recruiting to Bemidji and training entrepreneurs in Bemidji constantly. And I think the city partnership with that is really important. If we could also add back that community development director position down at City Hall, I think that would help in the way of building up the quality housing, building the quality center to our city that we need as well. So lots of things we can do in this important role.
Okay, thank you. Question number 3 is a significant challenge for our chamber members and our city has been the vagrancy, panhandling, public drunkenness, and other safety concerns. How do you plan to resolve these issues?
Tracy, I've heard a little bit about this as I go out door knocking. I've heard a few concerns about this. And I think it's interesting that people come at it from the help side as opposed to the, hide side, or they don't want to just sweep the problem away. They want to get these people some help, right? Because it is often a substance abuse problem. Homelessness is not just a Bemidji problem. It's a nationwide problem, and it's growing. So it does need our attention. And I really feel good about living in a community that's come a long way in the last 10 years. We have a couple facilities now. Park Place has been built, which houses, I believe, about 40 substance abuse clients and maybe 20 of the chronic homeless. So a great resource. And then there's the Nameless Coalition that's operating the Wolf Center. And so I think first and foremost, partnering with the Nameless Coalition to try to maybe build and extend their services is one way that's going to provide some long-term help. So they currently aren't able to stay open in the summer. If they could get some more resources and do that would really help the situation greatly. I also think that this is an opportunity to reimagine the police response. When I visited with Mike Maston, he told me that they often run into this recurring situation where maybe somebody it might be a visitor or a resident of the city is down in the park. They see somebody passed out on a bench. They call the police. They're worried about this person. The police respond. More than likely, they know this person. They know him by name. They've got to get him in the car, take them, him or her, up to the emergency room, possibly, where they can get some service, and then the whole situation might play out again the next day with the same person. So it's a recurring cycle, and it's a burden on the system, the police system, the hospital system. I said to Chief Maston, I said, so is this an opportunity that we could possibly, add a social worker to your team that goes out? Maybe replace one of the officers with a social worker. The social worker could get this person connected to some services, so we have more of a long-term fix to the problem rather than just fighting the same problem day by day. And finally, I'd like to suggest that there might be some opportunity for partnership with local tribes. A significant portion does tend to be native population from our area. Not all homeless are native, but there might be some opportunities for prevention work with local tribes. And I'd also look into that connection.
Okay. And John, the final question today is, the Sanford Center is an important asset for Bemidji. What goals do you have for the Sanford Center, and how will you hold VenueWorks accountable to those goals?
First and foremost, the goal would be to recreate the Sanford Center as the economic engine that it was meant to be. So right now, we have a problem with shutdown and COVID. So we need to get past that. Moving forward from then, I think the number one priority I would have is to secure regional funding for that regional asset. I think it's really important that we share the burden of funding the operations and the capital improvements with a broader public than simply the citizens of Bemidji. So it seems like a fairness, like a justice thing. So I would try to encourage some sort of a hospitality tax. Seems like the best way to move forward, to bring in some regional funding for that facility and to lessen the burden on the residents and the businesses of Bemidji, and also to build goodwill among those people for the center. There are still people who feel cut off from the Sanford Center because they hold a grudge on the way the whole thing came down. And I had when I went to see Dave Hengel, interesting conversation with Dave, where he said, John, I feel some responsibility for this thing. And this is a project I'd really like to take on. And I think, he said that as a resident, he's a non-resident of the city. He lives outside the city. He says, I use the Sanford Center. I should be a part of helping to pay for it. So I really think that now's the time to work on that and to get past to move forward with the Sanford Center, eliminate those old grudges and bring people into that facility. I would also try to bring people in any way we can to make sure they know it's a community facility. We need a community center in Bemidji. We need a wellness center. Well, we have the Sanford Center, and maybe there's some ways we can use that building for a community center, for a wellness center. I will be exploring those opportunities as well. Finally, I do think we need to review the management plan with VenueWorks. I know there's some problems there. Maybe we don't like their business model. Maybe we have some suggestions on how they could improve their business model. There needs to be some discussion along those lines as well. A very important discussion there to have with VenueWorks.
Well, thank you, John. Then that concludes today's interview. We want to thank our members for watching, and please check out our website at www.bemidji.org for all of the mayoral interviews in this series, as well as other relevant local election information. And as always, remember to vote in the upcoming primary election on Tuesday, August 11th, and thank you.